Hello everyone, it's me again. I'm here with another video. This video will be about something that I had initially considered for my 2000s DCEU but scrapped it. That of course is the inclusion of Jason Todd in the Dark Knight trilogy. If you remember correctly, I had considered him to be the Robin of the 2000s DCU before he was dropped in the end and replaced with Dick because I wanted to introduce the Teen Titans later on. But, however, this hasn't stopped me from doing this video. Today's video will be, what if Jason Todd was in the Dark Knight trilogy? Or more specifically, what if the Red Hood was in the Dark Knight trilogy? First, we need to start off at Batman Begins. Not a lot of the movie would change other than Bruce would meet Jason at some point. Here, I would say Jason is homeless and his mother was killed. Who killed his mother? Remember Victor Zsasz? Yeah. They could probably establish that Victor Zsasz killed his mother, and that left Jason homeless following his mother's death. And so Bruce takes Jason in. Jason sits out most of the movie until the end where he would become, Robin. And then we move on to The Dark Knight. Not a lot changes, but we would see more of the relationship between Bruce and Jason grow. Now, if you ask me who would I picture as Jason in the Nolan verse, I don't know, but part of me could actually see someone like Taylor Lautner or Dylan O'Brien as a Nolan verse Jason, but I think Lautner works best. But as I was saying, not really a lot of the Dark Knight would change until a specific point in the film, likely during the climax, happens. Joker fights Jason, and as a nod to the comics, Jason dies. Or it seems like Jason is dead. Because Jason's body wouldn't have been recovered. And so you're left to wonder, did Jason die or did he somehow survive? That would be the big cliffhanger of the film. Not sure how Jason would escape. I guess maybe he is shot by Joker and he almost dies, but ends up surviving. Or he and Joker somehow get into a tussle that causes them to separate. And Joker is caught by Batman still. And then we move on to The Dark Knight Rises. Now, instead of John Blake, this is where Tim Drake would come into play. He would, of course, be John's replacement, and Jason would return, but this time he is Red Hood. And it's revealed that Jason survived his apparent death when he was falling. He, however, suffered a broken arm, and so he was taken to the hospital, but as a consequence of said fall, he suffered memory loss. And then he began a killing spree, killing criminals as the Red Hood after he dug some insight on Joker's life before he became the Joker, where he, of course, was once the Red Hood. Now, his real name could either be Jack Napier or something else. I don't know. I'm just going to leave it to you in the comments down below. And so, Jason decided not to be Robin anymore. He, of course, became Red Hood. But then we have to discuss what happens in the final battle. Jason, of course, would regain his memories slowly throughout the movie until a final battle where he decides to help Batman the Game take down Bane and the League of Assassins. I would assume that the reveal would happen prior to the fight with Bane, or sometime after. I'm not 100% sure though. But either way, the movie ends pretty much the same, but instead of Alfred hallucinating or just Alfred thinking about Bruce, it would probably be Jason because Bruce was the one that made him a hero. Bruce was his mentor. So he begins to see like Bruce, like maybe in the crowd, akin to the ending of Spider-Man 4 where Peter sees Valera in the crowd after she was presumed dead. But Tim would become Gotham's new protector. He probably wouldn't be another Robin. He probably wouldn't be another Batman. He would be something different, like, Red Robin. They would probably do like the Red Robin storyline in this case. And who knows? Maybe Stephanie Brown could join Tim as Batgirl. Which does seem definite, which seems like a definite possibility. So that's what if Jason Todd was in the Dark Knight trilogy. Do I think he should have appeared? I don't know. I guess the only issue I would have had would be, the fact that was only 3 films, which might make it seem somewhat tricky. Like, it could work like the way I presented it. First movie, he becomes Robin. Second movie, he seems like he died. And then the third, he becomes Red Hood. It seems like a fair arc for Jason, a fair storyline of how to do the Red Hood storyline of Batman trilogy, but I'm not sure, honestly. But anyways, I could deal with the fact that he was in the Dark Knight trilogy. I'm not too angry about it, but it would have been interesting to see him in these films, but alas. Anyways, I will see you all later.